Taurus, this is your tarot reading for the month of December. Well, I'm going to come straight out with it. There's a broken heart there. I thought all these things were over, you know. Maybe you've not even got into it. Maybe this has just happened. But I'm feeling really sorry for you, Taurus. I really am. The overall energy is one of you being affluent, but by yourself, well, that doesn't come as any surprise to me. In the past, you've been figuring out your own emotions and those of others, and I think you've been doing incredibly well, because I think you've been completely unaware of what's going on up until now. In the future, you're likely to turn to something formal and a bit conservative, maybe religion, searching for answers, and maybe solace even, you know. I see you throwing yourself into something. Maybe, maybe a course of learning, some sort of training. I think it's learning. I think it's learning about something that you're beginning to see as important, something that maybe has been missing from your life. And that leads to the outcome, and the outcome isn't a great outcome. What would change the outcome is change or alter the outcome is you going out and seeking information. Gosh, this is the opposite of what so many other signs have had for December. And that is, I've been saying to them, don't go seeking information, follow your heart. But let me tell you what I think the learning might be. And I've got a feeling this learning is about psychology. And I'd encourage you to do it. But I think in doing so, you maybe uncover some deeper issues. Create conflict, in fact. Because you see, the outcome is more deception, and you've been through a lot of deception, haven't you? So we've got heartbreak and deception here. I have to say, however, to you, Taurus, I do think that you're making progress. However negative this may seem, I think it has to happen. There are things that have to come out and have to happen. So don't take this reading as negatively as it sounds, but let's get into it. Now, the overall energy is one of you being blessed, probably with wealth, but being alone. Now, this is something this is an energy that you've had many times in the past, because I've traced your love life, or the ups and downs of your love life, for want of a better way of putting it. And it's often told me that you're wealthy, and you've often not had a partner. So this comes as no surprise, but this runs through the entire thing, the entire reading, and every other energy is impacted by it. So I need to take account of that. And I think it's very important, this, because I think it is impacting on everything. Now, your past energy is one of, for once, trying to understand your heart, trying to understand what motivates you, but also what motivates others. Beginning to take a less materialist view of the world and trying to understand the psychology. And I think you've been making tremendous strides in that. I think you've been doing extremely well. So I'm very pleased to see this, because it confirms my views on what you've been doing. Yeah, I think you're keen to learn more, probably, about psychology as well. Right now, you're suffering from a broken heart, Taurus. And when I saw it, I was alarmed. But thinking about it, it's probably the same broken heart that you've had for a long time. Does something new happen? I'm not certain it does. No, I think it's the same broken heart, and that does rather dominate your life. And, you know, I often say with this energy, it's a minor arcana, so it doesn't necessarily last. But, you know, I suffered from a broken heart for over 20 years. So, you know, I know it can last. I know it can last. I know it can have a dramatic effect on you and your life. And it's all you think about, isn't it, for a very long time? Yeah. Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry for you, Taurus. And I don't think it is new. I think I'm right. It's the broken heart that we've spoken about before, isn't it? Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I've sort of tried to paste over it, and, as I did my own broken heart. But, you know, you can't really, can you? After 20 years, mine healed, but that's no solace, is it? In the future, I do see you turning to something formal, looking towards others to provide the answers to what is clearly missing for you. As a result, I think of this broken heart, you know, I think it's the broken heart that's going to do it. It's probably formal religion. And, you know, I was thinking, in a roundabout way, I guess religion did lead to me mending my broken heart. It was very roundabout way, you know, and was it religion as much as philosophy? Well, you know, as a result of religion, I became very interested in that intersection of philosophy and psychology. And I think that's where you're heading. I think that's where you're heading. That's the feeling I've got. Now, there's this energy of you training or learning something. Maybe a bit laborious, but you think it's going to be useful to you. Now, given that I think you've always been reasonably wealthy, I'm not sure it is vocationally related. And I think it's more related to you wanting to understand what has happened in your love life. Because I've told you before that I'm sure that at least one of your partners is a narcissist. And I think you're wanting to find out more about that. And that leads to the outcome. But I think the outcome is actually quite explosive. Maybe it's necessary. Maybe it's necessary. You know, maybe it's necessary to also look at your own shadow in a Jungian sense. So maybe this is a good thing to be doing, but it might not feel like it in December. It might feel like completely the wrong thing to be doing. Now, what changes the outcome is if you were to seek information. So rather than this sort of exploration, maybe even of your own shadow, but seeking objective information, it wouldn't bring things to the head that the more psychological approach is going to do. But, well, I guess it's up to you, but I think this head, bringing things to a head, has to happen. It's something that's useful for you. Yeah. So although, you know, this is an alternative way of doing it, I think long term it's not the right way. Not least because, you know, you've got a broken heart, and that's not going to be resolved by avoiding it in this way. Now you see, the outcome isn't really a great outcome, and it comes out of what I believe is you learning about psychology. I mean, I might have got that completely wrong, but it does come from you learning. And the outcome is more deception, and it's a very childish deception. So, I mean, this is just, I'm going off on one now, so excuse me. But for example, supposing you'd been learning about psychology, you'd recognise that the person who's broken your heart was a narcissist, and you confront them about their narcissism. It's bound to go very badly. It's bound to go very badly, you know, because of what you have to do with narcissists is no contact. And actually confronting them is, they'll lash out, you know. And this is a childish lashing out that you experience here. Yeah. I'm going to get some clarity on this because of, I think I've got the story, but you know, it's I've gone off on such a limb. Let's check it. Let's get clarity on this rather childish conflict. The first card we get is the Empress. When I do readings, I always read them as being about you. So I'm reading this as you as the Empress. You as the Empress. Powerful. We'll talk about it later, but very powerful. The next card of clarity is Four of Pentacles. Feeling a bit mean. Well, I think you've been burnt by this person in the past over money. And then the other card is another card of conflict, pulling in different directions. So I think I probably am right, but let's look at each. So the first card of clarity is the Empress. I've just had a dreadful thought here, and that is the Empress can mean pregnancy. I do hope in all the mess that you're in here, this isn't a pregnancy. And given that I believe you're dealing with a narcissist, I think you'd have to be, I'm assuming you're a male, but given, you know, if you are a male, and what I believe is your narcissist partner ex-partner tells you she's pregnant, I would get a paternity test. I really would. Because I wouldn't trust a narcissist one iota. However, let's talk about the other things. Powerful, Earth Mother, wants the best in life for themselves, but for everybody else. Has an understanding of themselves and an understanding of others. So if you were learning about psychology, if I'm right about that, then you've become this Empress, you know, this all-knowing type. But what I think you've done is very foolishly confronted a narcissist about their narcissism, and they've lashed out back at you. Now we have a card of being careful with your money, even being miserly. Now, you know, we've got this indication that you're wealthy, blessed with money, but by yourself. There have in the past been indications that this person that I believe to be a narcissist, who's been a former partner, has, in one way or another, taken some of your money. So you being careful with it is no surprise. However, just supposing that I'm right about them claiming that you got them pregnant, then they might be doing that to try and get money out of you. As I say, be very, very careful, because such a story would be typical of narcissism. And whatever it is, you're going to argue. There's going to be major arguments. And they're probably not about a great deal. They're probably that if this person wasn't a narcissist and wasn't playing games, it could be easily resolved by just talking it through. But you'll never win an argument with a narcissist. I lived with one for over 20 years, and they'll never say sorry. They'll never admit they're wrong. They'll never back down. So just walk away from it. That's the only thing you can do. Oh dear, Taurus. Issues that I thought were over come back to haunt you. I'm not too certain that you do anything about it. You're doing anything about it. I'm not too certain you're causing it. But they do come back to you. You might be doing something, I'm not sure. The overall energy is an energy that we've seen with you many times, and that is you're quite blessed, particularly in terms of money, but you're feeling lonely. And we've seen that many times with you, and I'm very sorry for you. You have been exploring what's gone on, trying to understand your own psychology and those who've harmed you, who've hurt you, trying to explore it, and I think you've made great progress with it, which comes as a bit of a surprise, because I've always seen you as a very sort of materialistic person, scientific, objective, but you have been exploring your heart, and I think you've been doing well. But the truth is, your little heart is broken, and I'm sorry, I hadn't realised how important this still was to you, your broken heart. I know you've had your heart broken many times, but you're living with a broken heart, aren't you? And I went through a broken heart for 20 years, so I'm not making light of it. But normally these broken hearts don't last. I think you're anxious to learn about what's gone on. And I've suggested that the person who's harmed you is a narcissist, and you're trying to find out more about it. I believe you're learning psychology. But I think you do exactly the wrong thing. Or is it the wrong thing? It needs to come to a head, so it's up to you. But I believe you confront them about their behaviour. And this leads to terrible arguments, recriminations, maybe them trying to get money from you for some reason. That reason could be that they claim they're pregnant. That's assuming you're a male, of course. But they claim that they're pregnant. For goodness sake, get a paternity test. Because narcissists are not to be... This is classic narcissism. Not to be trusted if they tell you something like that. And there's big arguments, maybe childish. You'll never win an argument with a narcissist. Never. Never. They'll never admit they're wrong. All you can do is disengage, which I have mentioned to you before. You might have been better off. Well, I don't know. I think this is bringing it to a head like this is the right course of action. But you might have been better off trying to learn more about the objective situation from the more materialist perspective that I think you're used to, maybe. And maybe you wouldn't then have confronted them and this wouldn't have happened. But, I'm not sure. I think in the future you're going possibly to turn to religion for solace. Something like that. Something quite formal. looking for others to help you, and I think it might actually work.